So today I wanted to start with this quote. It's from George Bernard Shaw. We don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing. And very much like Neil just said, how do we talk about play right now? Like there's this is a heavy time. There's so much going on in the world. Ukraine has been mentioned a few times, and at the same time that thing is going on, we have so much other stuff that's been going on forever. We add on a pandemic to it. There's a lot of things going on, just craziness in our own country here. It seems like we're kind of in a point of division and battle in our own spaces, and so it's heavy. And how do who am I to play? But then when we remind ourselves that we are all children of the divine, of that one infinite, that thing that Ernest Holmes calls the thing itself. He also calls it God and spirit. We can call it anything that we want, but we are all children of that one thing. So who are we not to play? And it's easy to get caught up and not make ourselves take the steps to do that, because we can take this all very serious. We can take our spiritual practice too serious. So looking at as I refer to us as children of the divine, we can take our what's the word, our inspiration from the children around us. Because there's this thing about kids that they're closer, they remember more about who they are, about coming from that divine, because they haven't lived long enough to have it kind of beaten out of them over time as we go and experience. And I think they've been just a wonderful example over the last couple of years, for example, of the pandemic. Like the kids feel the same things that we feel, the same concerns that we have, they have, maybe to a different degree because they haven't been exposed as long. But they're experiencing the same feelings of undoubt, insecurity, and just not knowing what this world is bringing. And through that fear, we can still watch them, and they play. They play like nothing else is going on. They're able to somehow kind of compartmentalize and find and connect with that joy within. So I love, drawing my inspiration just from, I'm very lucky to be able to have two children in my life right now that I can learn and watch from them. I can hear their concerns, and at the same time, see them tapping into that joy and very much be in the present moment with that. So with this, like thinking about we're children of the divine, there's a fairly recent quote from Marianne Williamson. It says, "We are living in a historical epoch that's an in-between times. An old order is falling apart, and a new one is struggling to be born. In order to be conduits for a just transition between the two, we need to think in terms of who we are as much as in terms of what we do." What we do is very important. And just as important is remembering who we are, that we are that. So I think like right now, for the month of March, the theme for the global themes for Centers for Spiritual Living, it's just one word. The theme for the whole month is play. And I think it couldn't be more timely than what it is right now. Like these global themes, were written over a year ago in preparation. They're preparing now and have been for a couple months for next year's themes already. So these were put in place a while ago. They had no idea what was going to be going on in the world right now. But that's how spirit shows up. It is a sense of play. Like this is showing up at the perfect time to remind us to take things, to keep a balance, to keep ourselves in that space of, we have our concern and we have the things that we want to pray, the things, pray for, the things we want to know. We also have to remember to keep ourselves buoyant, keep ourselves, above water. So it's perfect timing. And what play does is it's a form of self-care. So everybody that's here, like if you were drawn to, Centers for Spiritual Living, whether you've been coming for years and years or whether you're new to it, there's something within you either very conscious and at the forefront of what you're knowing, or maybe it's just in the back kind of whispering, but letting you know that we are part of this bigger thing together, that there is this spirit that we are, bringing forth into this world. So being intentional about reminding ourselves to play is very, very important. It goes back to, the analogy that I've heard many times, and I'm imagining most people have as well. The analogy of when you're on the flight, flying somewhere, and they do the safety talk, and they say, in case of emergency, when the oxygen masks come down, if you are taking care of children or somebody else that needs assistance putting on their mask, you make sure you put your mask on first. Because when that depressurization happens, you pass out really quickly. And so if you go by your instinct and want to take care of those that you need to help first before you take care of yourself, then you pass out and then you're not helping anyone. It's that same thing in our life, that the importance of reminding ourselves, especially in times of this heaviness that we're in right now, is so crucial. And it's a responsibility that when we take the efforts to remind ourselves to bring some play, to bring some lightness to what we're doing, we are putting on that oxygen mask to do our best to maintain our sense of wellness, to show up in the best way possible for those around us. So today, we're looking at this theme of, Twister is a metaphor. And, there's several correlations. Like one, when you're playing Twister, just like in life, we have to find the balance. If we stay, too far to one side in Twister, we're going to fall over. We have to really find a way to make our base solid. And it's the same thing in life. More things is, when you're playing Twister or when you're in life, we're going to brush up against people. You're going to get close and personal. And that brings up all kinds of stuff. We're going to get to know people better. We have to be able to open up. We have to learn to stretch ourselves in both the game and in life. You're going to have to do some uncomfortable reaches. And that's when we grow and we learn. And that's kind of the point of the whole game or of the whole life. And then we remind ourselves, we're going to fall. Occasionally we will fall. And then other times we're going to stay standing, and we're going to be the ones then that can help somebody else get back up. So as we engage in games of Twister, in games of life, we get close to each other's. And we do this, we play the game with people, that we enjoy, because we bond. We want to bond, we want to know better, we want to laugh, we want to play. So in both in the game and in life, we are going to win sometimes and we're going to lose sometimes, but we get up and we do it again and again. So looking at the Twister again as the analogy, the first thing you do is you set up the mat. For anybody that maybe it's been a long time, or maybe you've never played Twister, there's a mat with 4 columns of colored circles that are in rows, and you have to stretch, you have to touch certain circles when they spin the spinner to reach around. And the goal is just to be the last one standing, because it makes you contort and find different ways to reach and stretch to find one of those circles that's not already occupied. So when you set up the mat, we're not going to set it up on a rocky surface. We're not going to set it up on a slope or having, water slipperiness. We got to be solid on that foundation. And so for us, as we practice these philosophies, the philosophy of the science of mind and spirit, the principles that the science of mind teaches, that's our foundation. And so we remind ourselves, we bring ourselves back constantly to remind ourselves, some of the principles, the core principles of the science of mind is that there's only one God, one thing, one spirit, one ultimate whole thing that we are all part of. And everything is that, everything is spirit. We learn that, heaven on earth is a real thing. And it's, a state of mind that we are creating. And we learn of the universal law of creation, how the thoughts that we plant in the subjective mind are what then is manifested on this planet. So remembering who we are is a shift. It's like this, we have this balance and almost, like a weighted kind of scales. And we talk about this a lot, this shift in the collective consciousness that we've been, talking about and working on for literally decades. And it seems to me like it is definitely picking up momentum, that we are in kind of like a quickening of that. And so every time that we remind ourselves who we are, that we are this infinite spirit, we're adding another drop into our subjective, our subconscious mind, till we are fully knowing it. So Ernest Holmes, in talking about the collective unconscious, he finishes up a thought with this quote that says, "The sum total of all erroneous human belief binds until the individual mentally lifts themselves above the law of averages into the higher law of spiritual individualism." And so this is one of our things in the Science of Mind. We focus a lot on our own personal work. And we recognize that that is how the work of the collective, our collective consciousness, the consciousness of humanity, can make that shift. It's just one person at a time. And it's one thought at a time. For most people, it's not like an instantaneous awakening. We've been doing this work over and over. And really, for me, I've been working on this talk and on these thoughts all week long, and just remembering continually to remind myself that I am that I am spirit. This is a powerful thing, and it's amazing. And I love this opportunity to get to come up with different talks, because it really forces me into embodying it, to really thinking about, getting clear on what it is that I'm feeling, what I want to know, what I want to learn, how I want to grow. So back to the Twister analogy, and really to just playing in life in general, when we are playing something, very much like Bob's meditation, we forget about the future, we forget about the past. When we are genuinely playing and engaging in something, we are right there. Like, what a more, I couldn't think of a more perfect way to be in that now moment. Eckhart Tolle, that's basically his whole thing, is that we got to be in the now. And when we're in that place, it brings in an awareness of the moment. This is, the mindfulness that I refer to a lot, experiencing things as if we've never experienced them before. And it's a shift in our mind that we can bring to anything that we do if you can just step back. Like right now, I can just look at my hands and kind of switch an awareness in my mind, like, whose hands are these? What, I'm observing them as if I have never seen them before. And it's a tangible, like physiological shift that I can feel, that all of a sudden now it's like I'm looking at it through two sets of eyes. Spirit is always there. When we say playing Twister with God, well, you could never be playing Twister without God, because God is all that is. That's all that exists. But when we bring our awareness to that, now all of a sudden it's a conscious game. It's a playing with that. So we make that shift to just remember that. Well, here's how it works. Like, essentially, when we spirit is always watching through us. That's the point of why we come into this physical world, is for that one mind to experience itself from within itself, but to see it from a different perspective. So instead of God experiencing through us, now all of a sudden it's God experiencing with us. And then that turns into a really powerful thing. And so this next week, and really the whole month, remembering to play is like our homework, is what we need to take with us out into this world. And there's so many different things. So each and every day, this is my commitment to myself. I'm going to take a minimum of 5 minutes. I can easily find 5 minutes a day to where I'm going to do something that is just for fun. That's just for play. And, if I can find something to do even longer, then, all the better. But it's, in that idea that, again, with the heaviness, it's there and it doesn't go away. And it doesn't mean that we're ignoring it. It just means that we are taking our time to care for ourselves, which is taking the time to care for all that is. Because if we don't do that, if we just stay in that heaviness, then that's where our subconscious mind is. And everything that we're seeing in this world right now is a result of the collective consciousness of humanity from millennia. It's everything that is manifest right now is a result of what we've planted in that subconscious in the past. And all the things that we've been planting, all the work that we've been doing, today, all this last week, that we've been doing for this last year, sometimes it can be easy to get kind of, I want to use the word despondent, that's too strong, but we can get kind of pessimistic, like, I'm doing this work, why are we still seeing all this? We need to remind ourselves we are literally processing and seeing the results of thousands of years of collective thought, and it doesn't just dissipate immediately. We have planted those seeds. At the beginning, when Carolyn talked about, like seeing maybe at some point, hopefully we'll see a bigger reason for the things that are going on. And I absolutely believe that it is the work that we've been doing, the seeds that we've been planting is moving us towards this spiritual renaissance, this awakening in our collective consciousness, but it's taking time. We won't see the fruits of our conscious labor immediately. And so we have to have that faith that every drop that we're putting in that bucket in our collective consciousness is having power, but we need to remember that we need to constantly draw back into that. So the ways that we can move forward in this every day is to bring that play in. And it can be, you can dance like nobody's looking, with somebody or with nobody, just by yourself, playing basketball, getting out, maybe playing frisbee, fishing. One thing that I really like as a spiritual practice that's also fun is coloring mandalas. We can download free mandalas from the internet. All you have to do is Google free mandalas and print them out and just sit and color. And it's a therapeutic approach. It's a spiritual approach that people have been using and filling in mandalas, creating them from sand, all kinds of different ways, again, for thousands of years. And it's bringing play into a deeper realm that's combining your spirituality, which is your full nature, with a sense of lightness. And every time we do that, every time we remember to play, we're recharging our batteries. We're keeping ourselves at the best level that we can be at, in order then to hold the best thoughts, to show up best for those around us. So remembering who we are is the second part of that. Every day we need to remind ourselves to take a little time to just play, to let go for at least a few minutes more if we can. And then every time that we bring that awareness of who we are creating that shift. We hear it in Centers for Spiritual Living, the phrase over and over, that we're creating a world that works for everyone. And I really believe that we are, and we're seeing that emerge. And just like in our personal spiritual work, when we are about to make a breakthrough, we witness and experience the heavy things within ourselves that we're not going to use as part of our forefront personality. We never get rid of anything like that within ourselves, because we are infinite beings full of infinite potential. But when we start to do that spiritual work, they come up to the surface so that we can recognize that they're there. And then it's a conscious choice of what we want to incorporate as who we are going forward, or what we're going to put on as what we bring to the world, what we give power to, and what we diminish the power from, so that we're not controlled by those aspects of ourselves that are not conducive to this new way. And so that's what we're seeing in our collective unconscious too, is all those things that are not contributing to that world that works for everyone. Those things that aren't going to help create that space, they're part of that infinite potential. But as soon as we see it, then we can learn how to heal it and how to integrate it, and then make conscious choices for those things that will bring us into that space. So the work of imagination, of doing our play, when we remind ourselves who we are, and then picture everything that we're doing as spirit, we are bringing a play to the world. And we can even, in addition to taking intentional time to play, we can bring that sense of play to the things that we have to do, the everyday stuff, to bring more of play to the things that we would normally call work, normally call this, chores or things we have to do. If we can again flip that switch as if we're witnessing it for the first time from the eyes of spirit, and then that, and make it like a game, that I'm here, I'm an infinite spiritual being living in this human being, this meat suit that I carry around. Everything that we get to do is a gift. It's this little kind of like a vacation away from that infinite place that we come from and that we return to. And really, in mind, we're always there. That's the heaven on earth that we talk about. When we bring that awareness that we are getting to have this experience, I don't have to work. I get to work. I get to go play and experience it in a new way. So the very last thing that I want to leave us with, after those reminders of having intentional play this month, this is a quote from Alan Watts, who I love very much, says, "This is the real secret of life, to be completely engaged with what you are doing in the here and now. And instead of calling it work, realize it's play." And that's the end of the quote. And really, all of this, even that heaviness, we're here, it's all play. But we need to remember that. So thank you very much. And I'm happy to take any questions or hear any insights that you have.